Bora ver se alguém aparece. Se ninguém aparecer, bora em português mesmo.
O Raul vai
Porque a
aparecer mais
princípio,
tarde.
tipo... Bora em português, então, por enquanto. A princípio, o que eu pensei para hoje, tipo... Vou me afastar mais um pouco do Dan aqui. Não, me dá um pouco de agonia esse
Eu vou
eco.
mutar aqui.
Tá. Mas a princípio que eu pensei para hoje, tipo, a gente podia começar com a rodada de apresentação, mas dado que o Raul ainda não apareceu, então dá para esperar ele chegar. Depois uma introdução ao Igaratá School e tudo mais. Mas, sei lá, como todo mundo aqui já está à parte, acho que também faz sentido deixar para depois do Raul. Então, eu estou pensando aqui como que a gente remaneja a agenda. Eu acho que, de repente, a gente podia fazer o seguinte, tipo, de repente, o Xavier podia compartilhar um pouco as impressões dele agora. Depois que ele compartilhar, de repente, tipo, sei lá, eu posso meio que começar um pequeno monólogo sobre as coisas que foram feitas, descrições sobre por que o ecossistema é interessante, algumas coisas potenciais. Qualquer coisa eu compartilho a minha tela, a gente pode, sei lá, navegar em algumas coisas juntas. De repente, eu posso explicar também algumas coisas, tipo alguns conceitos tipo AMM, Uniswap, alguns tokens. O que vocês acham mais ou menos dessa linha?
Tá ótimo.
E depois a gente pode também dar uma comentada também nos eventos da comunidade que vai rolar, tipo aquele Research Group do Hydra, do Balancer. Eu mandei um convite para vocês dois para um evento que vai ter terça que vem. Eu posso dar uma comentada nele também, de repente explicar um pouco o Balancer.
Tá ok.
Legal, vamos embora.
Sim. Mas Xavier, quais foram as primeiras impressões, assim, para deixar registrado para a eternidade a primeira impressão da imersão no universo?
Então, cair de paraquedas lá nos fóruns, eu estava tentando captar as palavras-chave, né, nas falas de todo mundo e tentar buscar os significados. Então, e tentar achar as fontes de informação, né? Então, o que eu cheguei lá no canal do YouTube do Token Engineering, estava assistindo uns vídeos, né, para entender do que o pessoal está falando, e cheguei no livro da Sherman, não sei se vocês conhecem, Token Economy.
Ah, Sebnen?
Isso. Não, é Sherman, cadê o nome dela? Vishningia, o nome, uma moça da Universidade de Viena. Mas para entrar nessa coisa conceitual do que são os tokens, o que é a Web3, ainda não entrei mais na parte técnica, né? Eu vi também um curso de CAD, estou para me inscrever, mas ainda estou, aí depois de ter achado esse livro, eu estou me dedicando a ler para entender conceitualmente, né, esse universo e tudo mais. É o que eu estou me dedicando, depois de uma busca no meio do matagal, encontrei essa clareira aqui para tentar esclarecer um pouco. E sim, tem achado interessantíssimo, né? Tem tudo que eu gosto, né? Aplicação na vida, ajuda a organizar a vida das pessoas, tem matemática, eu gostei muito da visa dos modelos matemáticos, que eu gosto muito de matemática, né? E tem sido interessante demais entender essas coisas.
Legal, você está no lugar certo.
Sim.
Acho que uma coisa que me ajuda a entender, pelo menos essa parte de token, né? É uma coisa que eu estava conversando com o Dan ontem, era de... Tô como aluno também, mas eu tô compartilhando. Que é como se, assim, a tokenização, os NFTs, ele meio que... ele materializasse digitalmente um ecossistema, né? Ou pelo menos os relacionamentos de um ecossistema, ou os valores de um ecossistema, né? Você consegue tokenizar alguma coisa, você consegue, né, incentivar alguma coisa a acontecer, é meio que você está trazendo para a matéria digital o ecossistema já existente, né? Ou pelo menos os valores, os processos já existentes. So, Raul arrived. A gente vai falar um pouquinho inglês agora. Tudo bem, né, Dan?
Yeah, sure. So now we're switching language to English. So perhaps we can go now to the to the predefined agenda. So Raul, maybe one good interesting dynamic would be to maybe we could do a first introduction hobby just so that we know each other. After that, let's say we do an introduction to Igaratá School, probably a 5-minute introduction, and what is the mentorship program and so on, what we want to achieve with that. Perhaps after that, we could do a 10-minute presentation about EthicHub, what it wants to achieve, how are the building blocks, and so on. Then we, let's say, I could, let's say, do sort of a monologue where, let's say, I present some of the building blocks on the token ecosystem, some of the opportunities, some of the perspectives. And also, I was inviting Danilo and Xavier to some research group events, so probably I'm going to explain a bit what's the Balancer research group, so just contest. So yeah, sounds good for you, Raul?
Sounds okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll introduce myself first, and then I'll point other one for present. So my name is Danilo. I'm a research engineer at Block Science. Essentially, what I do is, let's say, doing crypto economics modeling at several systems, always trying to, let's say, apply the scientific methods so that we perform design work, we collect real data, we let's say, we formulate our hypotheses in an objective way so that we can test them against reality and see, let's say, if our designs are applicable or not to the counterfactors, to alternate design considerations, and so on. I have a background in atmospheric physics, so I already have a lot of experience dealing with, let's say, policy making under uncertainty and so on. And sometimes I joke with my friends because for a long time I was concerned with climate change, and then suddenly I become concerned with economic change. And I think this is a recurring theme on Web3, which is really about, let's say, how we remake our economic system so that the incentives that they create, let's say, gives, let's say, space for, let's say, for a more humanistic future, for, let's say, for collaboration structures that, let's say, are more sustainable in nature, and so on. This is a very short intro, and I would like to pass the, maybe Raul could present himself.
Hi, I'm Raul from Spain. I'm a CTO and the developer at EthicHub, and also, which I will explain later, but I've been working on the crypto space, well, developer for 10 years, working in the crypto space since 2017, in Ethereum mainly. Also very interested in how we can get, like, use this technology to generate a fairer world. Like economics is a thing that for me was something that the bad guys did, or like the marketing department or something. I just have to, like, tinker with code. But now economics is in a language that I understand in code. So if we don't do something to make it right, now is our fault. Like, we don't have an excuse anymore. So also, like, I'm a contributor in token engineering community. I started the Balancer Simulation Research Group, and very, very interested in modeling, having a good token model for a project that will allow us to do all this we are preaching. So maybe Danilo, your turn, or Xavier. Nice to meet you. I don't know.
Yeah, I can introduce myself. My name is Danilo. I'm also from Brazil, and I don't have a very strong Web3 background like Raul or Danilo. I've been just following and participating. But because I have, I think, crazy friends, somehow I get involved. And I'm graduating in business, but I'm very happy to be here with this new initiative, Igaratá School, where we have some set of values, and also to be working with EthicHub, with Raul, And I think this is going to be an amazing experiment. So now I give the pass to Xavier.
Hi, Raul. I'm from Brazil too. I work as programming and physics teacher. I have a master's degree in experimental physics. I'm a newborn in this area. I was invited by Danilo lesson, and I am an enthusiastic student now.
Really good.
Now.
Well, we hope you have a nice experience with this.
Yeah, Xavier is still on bit on the chai phase, but Xavier has a lot of background. I mean, he was born on Recife, which is a region northwest Brazil, the poorest region on Brazil, and I mean, he has a long story with social activism, with participating on social organizations, and also, I mean, I would say that, let's say, he keeps being, let's say, volunteering on teaching, let's say, people programming, physics, mostly on, let's say, on instance that where people cannot afford to pay. I mean, Xavier curriculum is rich. One time, probably he'll be able to showcase that. But anyway, I think that, let's say, one of the goals of the Igaratá School, and I'm going to use that as a hook for actually, let's say, starting describing. So the idea of the Igaratá School is really to, let's say, do a complete immersion on the Web3 environment. The idea is that, let's say, as Danilo said, one of our main goals is, let's say, wealth transfer. Wealth transfer in the sense of, let's say, transferring knowledge, transferring perspectives, transferring also this opportunity of, let's say, shaping those incentives. Because, I mean, I think that we are in a very interesting scenario because, I mean, the beauty of, let's say, blockchain, crypto economics, and so on, is that we can design our incentives. We can make explicit, let's say, what drives us, what could be, let's say, interesting collaboration rules so that, let's say, people can trust more and, let's say, distrust less, and so on. So I think it's a key thing on crypto in order to be successful and sustainable that, let's say, we must have a diversity of skills, diversity of people. We must have people that, let's say, the reality of the world in order to, let's say, have a meaningful thing. And Igaratá School is, let's say, inaugurating this format of, let's say, being paired to learn. In a certain sense, this is an innovation because, as I know, this is the first initiative on the crypto space. But if you think about the public sphere, about, let's say, what has been done, for example, on developing countries and so on, this is not exactly innovative. The Brazilian education system, for example, has done, for example, some great studies because, I mean, we need brain power in order to transform societies and transform communities. So there is a history of, let's say, using, let's say, of paying students, of leveraging students so that they transform their communities and they transform their ecosystem. So we are bringing that to crypto. Igaratá School is the first example. The purpose of that is that the mentoree, and in this case, let's say, the first one is being Xavier. The idea is that he's going to allocate, let's say, 80 to 85% of his time towards having the most complete immersion as possible of the token engineering community and discipline and so on. So it's really about, let's say, having fun so that he can interact, so he can devote, let's say, a quality time. Because we know, for example, the problems in developing worlds where, let's say, sometimes you have insecurity about, let's say, being able to feed yourself, feed your family, and so on. And it's very difficult to, let's say, to make use of, let's say, it's very difficult to study, to have free exploration when you are severely constrained by life concerns. So this is an experiment. We hope that it's going to expand. We hope that this is going to be an inspiration for other organizations to take this on and expand and use that for, let's say, potentialize the crypto and making sure that, let's say, crypto arrives, let's say, at places where it can most deliver transformation. And yeah, It's going to be initially a 1 month programming in terms of mentorship, in the sense that we are going to have those mentorship sections for at least 1 month. But we do expect Xavier to, let's say, to be on the token engineering community and to be also interact with EthicHub for at least 3 months. Depending on the developments, we may have a second or a third mentor. It really depends. I'm sort of blocked of being more than 1 month because on September I have a cycling record to do, which is essentially crossing Brazil North to South in 28 days. But this is another history. But yeah, this is a Igaratá School, and we are doing that with partnership with EthicHub. So this that as Xavier learns, let's say, the token discipline, see the application, see how the building blocks and so on, EthicHub is going to be, let's say, the concrete case study. Let's say the concrete place, let's say, where, let's say, he could question himself whatever this could be applicable or not to EthicHub. And also on EthicHub, we have several challenges. Like, for example, we need to do more robust modeling so that, for example, people can trust the dynamics and so on. Xavier is going to have, let's say, a first-hand contact with that so that he knows also, let's say, how he would problems looks in practice and so on. It's not expected that Xavier is going to do backlog exactly, but it's expected that Xavier, let's say, knows, let's say, what are the typical challenges of, let's say, any social endeavor that, let's say, seeks to use crypto as a platform for delivering transformation. That's it. I would like to, let's say, leave the floor for Raul, if you want to do an introduction for EthicHub.
Okay, thank you, Danilo. Yeah, I will share my screen a little. I promise not to be too, but it's cool. Like, first, I want to start a little on the why are we doing this. So, well, our founders and from Mexico too, and they know, like, the family cultivate coffee, and they know there's, even if this slide is in Spanish, I think you can understand. A lot of families in these conditions are trapped in what is called, like, the circle of poverty. Basically, they have a profitable activity, but they need money to finance, like to buy equipment, to hire people to harvest the land or whatever. And but they are in either geographically or for any other reason, they don't have access to the traditional financial markets. So they are exposed to loans in cash, for example, for 50 to 100% interest annual. They are so removed from the international markets, they are underselling their production. They cannot save money for next year, so they are trapped in this circle of debt. Even if they are, like, the base of the pyramid. In the other side of the world, the bank will give you almost nothing for your money. This is not new. The first solution we started 3 years ago was to create a crowd lending platform using blockchain, because we understand blockchain is going to be the tool to bring this change to everyone. Actually, it was one of the first mantras of the crypto community, was like, bank don't bank. Then you don't hear that as much anymore, but a lot has changed, and now, well, the traditional crowd lending model has limitations. You need, basically, you cannot go to these families and tell them, yeah, we trust us to have money for a year, more or less. You are going to get it. You know, you need some liquidity first. But it's hard to get liquidity if you don't have where to allocate it. So the idea is to create a protocol using the tools already available in DeFi, so we can do two things. Like, with our token, build a collective layer of trust and rewards for this ecosystem, and use the tools that DeFi provide us to better attract liquidity and have like a more scalable model than just like a crowd lending. So the agents you're going to of the system, in like more or less, if simplifying is, you will have the lenders on one side. That are the people that are providing capital, that are going to get stable interest or a fixed interest with stable coins. This will be like, for example, the people that are already lending in the crowd lending platform, or people that are a little more risk adverse. Then you have the originator hubs. Instead of, we started working directly with the farmers, but what the work we did in Mexico, we created a cooperative along the farmers. So that is his own thing now, and we think to grow is easier to create a system where you can connect these originator hubs, be it cooperatives, NGOs, or companies that work with farmers. Hopefully, at some point, farmer DAOs or something like that. But there are going to be, instead of requesting in the crowd lending side, they will open a line of credit to from these lenders. Of course, there's going to be some auditing, but hopefully it will get progressively more and more decentralized. And the other very important part of the system are the stakers that are going to put their capital, similar to, for example, in Unslash or Nexus, where people pool capital to insure, to cover as collateral for these originators. So people who trust these originators will be rewarded, and if they are, if the originator is a good member of the system and grows and spread impact, the stakers are going to have a benefit. If the originator is malicious, both will have negative incentives, and their stake, in a very simplified way, their stake will be sold to cover for possible defaults. This system is already working with in a very simple way. With every project has some fees that buys ethics and stake them for collateral. Half of our supply, 50 million ethics, is reserved for this collective collateral fund. But we want to make it more interactive and have it as a tool also to scale to be able to onboard originators, as we are doing with our prototype in Brazil. If you bring trust with you, you will be able to enter the system, and we have to do it in a way that if you don't have because usually a group of farmers are not going to have probably collateral of knowledge or knowledge of the crypto space, but if they have a community that supports them together, they all should benefit from this. The idea, this is going to be a little bit more technical. The idea is to, instead of doing like funding projects, to have liquidity pools. Pools that are going to lend part of their capital to DeFi and to the borrowers. So the idea is the lenders are going to lock for example, for 1 year or for 6 months the liquidity in the pool. So they will have an NFT representing their position, similar to Uniswap, for example. And this pool liquidity is going to be, we will have a commuter agent or an asset manager that will, if there is no demand or the demand of the borrowers is covered, this liquidity is going to be invested in liquid positions in DeFi, for example, either finance or Aave or different strategies here. And when the collaterals need need to borrow, and if the lending pool does not have cash, it will undo this, divest these positions to allocate the collateral. This way, there is theoretically no bounds to how much liquidity this protocol can attract. The idea is that the money of the lenders is working all the time, but the objective is to have the biggest possible amount, with the farms. However, these parameters and a lot of the questions you're probably having in your head regarding how this will work is part of what we want to model. We have also, this will be like a successful loan. Basically, if the loan is successful, some fees or some benefits has to be shared to the backers or the stakers of this node. If the loan is unsuccessful or something, all the initial collateral actually is the produce of the farmers, but if there is an event or a malicious node, we have to sell or give the ethics stake directly to the lenders. And we have this compensation system that we'll have to model. So we have to know how it will behave in events of like a spike of defaults. Like, for example, imagine there is a flood in one country, and will this be able to handle all this, or what are the parameters of or the the parameters this system can handle, or even like the volatility, or give us an idea of how we can improve this or make it more resilient. And another thing that we are experimenting now, soon that we are going to deploy this first pilot for the originator with this kind of backing. The idea is to align incentives in a process before they can request a credit line. They will have to put a part of the stake as like a proposal. If governance accepts this proposal, there is like a previous review from a risk team, or to see if these people actually exist and have it looks good for lending. An auditor and the community will stake the rest of their credit line in ethics, with the idea that there's going to be a system that will be updating this, so we don't have an unhealthy system. We will have to have a collateralization ratio or this kind of incentives. This is pretty much it. Probably is a lot to take in the first day. I don't know if you guys have questions, or probably a lot.
So my internet and Danilo's is not the best right now. So we joined. So we joined computers.
Combine your forces.
We're trying to open the we're trying to open Kumu to share what we already have created. So to explain to Xavier a little bit in an easier way, Ethics is a crowd lending platform on blockchain, and like everything goes on blockchain, and everything that Raul explained is with the purpose of allowing investors to invest directly on farmers, and farmers to get lower interest from direct investors, not having the middleman. And we are trying to open Kumu because the process to model, at least with Danilo had told me before, we first model it in a stock and flow. We make a stock and flow model, then we create a math equation out of it, and then we code it, and then we start testing.
I can share screen if you want.
We already have okay. Have the Kumu. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, let me
just wanted to add one thing that you shared yesterday, and I think it was amazing. And I also talked to Danilo, and he also thinks it's going to be an amazing. It's the idea of of us researching metaverse together in a sense of bringing EthicHub and in a gamification way together with metaverse. We thought that it would make a lot of sense. For example, we started to see a lot of scenarios, but one could be like, let's say you have a farm NFT from São Paulo, like, in the map it will appear, in São Paulo. For you to receive ethics, you would have to actually make coffee on your NFT, which would mean like you would have to go through a learning process. So the investors also learn what the farmers are going through. There is this kind of communication. So it's not only staking your NFT. Once you stake your NFT, you have to make the coffees. And so, some of ideas came up with Danilo. And we also think it's very nice to have this in this experimental mentorship, because since we're going to experiment something new, why not do something completely new for everyone?
Yeah.
Right? Like Xavier, he's gonna be new anyway. So if we bring new something that is old new or new, it's gonna be the same. So why not bring something that is completely new for everyone? And maybe ethics and the gamification of the implementation of the metaverse on ethics can be a case study for other projects to materialize their ecosystem. Because how we were talking, and how like what metaverse is the digital materialization of the ecosystem. So you're bringing in tokens, in some digital form, the values, the education, all that you're bringing somehow to a material world, like digital material world. So I think this can be a case to many places, and Xavier is all about education. So just wanted to share this point.
This like it's super like the back end of this metaverse will be like all these things about pools and interest and whatever, but the presentation is a way better front end, I guess. And it's if you think of, for example, we want to, if you have participated in the staking of a node, you will have better interest if you lend. But this is way easier. Like, for example, if you buy an NFT for the node, you will have like some coffee plant from that region. And if you lend, you will have land from that region. So if you put them together, you will have more, ethics or whatever. So it's, that's the idea. We've been trying with it, but like, we are a little bit shy of doing it or not, but like, let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. By the way, any thoughts so far, Xavier, or any questions?
Por ahora não.
Ya vendrán, no te preocupes.
Yeah.
Okay. So
next,
do you want to share the
how do you?
Yeah. I think you have a little bit of lag. Sorry.
Just for the context, Xavier, what we are going to present is stock and flow map that Danilo has wrote. And stock and flow is a modeling paradigm that it's used a lot, for example, to know what are the points of accumulation and what are the flows between, let's say, the components of any system. This is used somewhat on physics. It's a lot used on engineering in general. And the idea is that one concern that you have when designing any kind of economic system is that you are concerned first, what are the endogenous flows? Because when we design a token, when we design a crypto economic system, what happens is that there are several things that are under our control. So, for example, the internal token dynamics, how you allocate interest rate, what are the allocation of tokens, what are the rules of the game, this is under our control. But at the same time, you have interactions with the outside world, because, by the way, that's one of the reasons of why automated market makers are so important, like Uniswap and other tokens. So one tricky part is that, let's say, you always want to create tokens that, let's say, they have flows, they have, let's say, the internal dynamics that are useful enough, but you need to interact with the external world because, I mean, in the end, you need to pay the bills. And on top, for example, ethics can be used, for example, for facilitating loans, can facilitate, let's say, this relationship between farmers and loans so that everyone, let's say, have more security. In the end of the day, everyone needs to, let's say, have a bit of DAI on their wallets. And by the way, DAI is a decentralized version of US dollars. It's a long story where we are going to cover all of that. You are going to see that there is a crypto version. Anyway, how is sharing here a diagram? So, do you prefer to walk through it, Dan, or
you can, or you remember? Yeah. So
yeah, because I see that it has changed a bit.
Yeah. So these are ethics, these are DAI, and the rest are the nuvenzinha, sabe?
Okay.
O azul é nuvenzinha.
So, Xavier, are you familiar with? Have you ever seen Stock and Flow before or not? Yes or no, or maybe?
Never.
Okay. So this is not exactly, let's say, a vanilla Stock and Flow, but we are going to give you some examples. But anyway, the key thing to have in mind is that Stock and Flow diagrams, they have essentially 4 kinds of elements. First one are stocks, and stocks are points of accumulation. A stock could be a bank account, it could be a warehouse, it could be anything that accumulate. On physics, we would say that stocks represents integrals over time. There are some energy, or maybe, for example, let me think of another one. Or maybe, for example, volume, water volume, for example. So those are stocks, points of accumulation. The stocks on that diagram, they are those circles. So you can see, for example, that there are green circles, yellow circles, red ones. And we have things that are not stocks at all, which are the blue humans and the orange one protocols. They are on a Stock and Flow diagram what we call source and sink. The idea is that when you do a Stock and Flow diagram, you can always think of 2 ways of, let's say, diagramming a system. You can think about endogenous systems that do not interact with the outside world. So if you go to thermodynamics, essentially,
Danilo?
I think they should be. Yeah, let's take out the camera maybe.
We lost connection. Though.
Yeah. Was getting interesting.
I will send a message to him.
Yeah. This reminds me a lot of control process theory too, like industrial processes.
Send on Telegram.
Yeah, me too. The Telegram signal is not even reaching. I think we're going to have to edit.
Yeah, in a farm near to São Paulo.
Yeah, they're almost preparing the record thing, right?
Yeah.
That's super crazy. Are you in the north of Brazil or?
What?
Would you camp? Like, are you in the north of Brazil or where are you?
It's not just a state called Pernambuco.
Pernambuco. I think I've heard of it, but
You know Fernando de Noronha is there.
okay.
Is our most famous beach.
Wish to visit one day. I don't know. We're in the center of Spain right now and very far from any beach.
Yeah. But you live far from beach?
I think the nearest one, I mean, far from for Spain, probably like 4 hours, 4.5 hours, maybe by car. Looks like there is not a good connection in farms.
Sorry, I can hear you.
No, I was thinking like if they will have a good connection in the farm at some point or not. It's a shame because Danilo is really busy all the time. So I hope, oh, they're back.
Será que não tá rolando aí?
Tá rolando.
Hello.
Alô?
Danilo? Danilos?
Vou deixar fechado aqui para não interferir com...
Vou deixar a minha também.
Tirar aqui também.
Desativar todas as internets.
Hello.
Hi.
Tirar o vídeo, será?
Turn off the
Acho
light.
que sim, acho que é bom.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi guys.
Are we back or not?
Yes. Can you hear us?
Alô? They don't receive my message too.
Me neither. Maybe in this chat.
Not very stable.
And they abandon again. Maybe WhatsApp is better. The bad thing is in WhatsApp we cannot share screen or record.
Dan sent me a message. He said to keep the meet on async. Okay.
Okay. That means, I guess, we are not going to keep recording.
In the chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Should we have like a Telegram group or Discord or something?
Discord. Wait. Let's try to call them on Discord. Danilo Lessa.
They send me a Discord link invite. I'm going to post it in the here.
We close this meet and move to Discord, okay?
Okay. Nice to meet you, Xavier.
Nice to meet you, Guy.
We'll talk around.